congratulations on the movie. I'm a really dedicated Tron fan. The first Tron movie was the first movie I ever saw in cinema, and I was delighted by this film. I thought it was wonderful. So my only problem is, as a Tron fan, I've had to wait a long time for a new Tron film. Why the wait?
We had to wait a long time too.
Yeah,
I love that. We love the '82 film as well. Justin and I worked together on Tron Legacy in 2010, and so it took a while to sort of find the right idea, to get the right pieces together. Jared was a huge driving force in helping to get this made, and then just that idea of the digital assets coming into our world, and to also, I think there's an obligation in all things Tron to sort of say something a little bit new and different about the future. Credit to Steven Lisberger in 1982, who sort of had a different idea of what the future might look like that, was fairly prescient. And so to kind of figure out what we wanted to say in this film, story-wise and thematically, took a moment. But glad we got here.
Longer between 1982 and Legacy, so I feel like we made a
speeding up.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully there'll be a new movie next year, maybe. So the story does take a sort of a kind of a swerve away from what happens in Tron Legacy. Was a direct sequel to Tron Legacy ever considered?
Okay. We talked about the various elements and how they should be incorporated. And we played with sort of different balancing acts of how to honor the mythology, but sort of say something new and tell a new story. And so, hopefully we've struck a balance that the fans will feel like we know the mythology, we know the history, we cared about it, but also that we're sort of coming at the story this time from a brand new direction and a brand new angle.
Good answer. And the film it's such a big film, and it's very expansive in scope and ambition. I think it's very ambitious. As producers, how daunting a project was this? And what was the biggest challenge you had to overcome during the making of the movie?
Yeah, it's a big production, and you're kind of in multiple worlds in this movie, whereas before we've always sort of, it's been an adventure into a single world, and in this world we have multiple digital worlds, so it's building out those environments, and we try to be as practical as possible all the time, so it's more light suits than we've ever had to build and more physical sets than we've ever had to build, and a lot of visual effects. And then there's the whole other side of the movie where we're more than half of the movie we're living in the real world, and we're bringing those assets into our world. And again, we wanted to be as practical as possible, so we were physically producing light suits and light cycles and racing around the cities and shooting outside for more than 6 weeks at night to try to make it as as real as possible for the audience. And so it was a big production in that way. And the movie, I think you feel the scope of that when you see the film. At the same time, I think what we were always trying to manage is that character story and that emotional drive of the film, which is ARES' character and his desire to become more human in this world and kind of find himself in this world. And we really wanted to try to hold on to that while we were sort of trying to figure out how to mount this big production, just make sure we were really still focused on character and story and what was that arc, because that arc is really, I think, important, and it holds a super important theme for this film.
I mean, this is the biggest film that I've ever worked on, and so obviously I learned a lot along the way, but working on a big film with scope like this and working on a tiny film, you still, at the heart of it, you just need to make a great movie, and that is what your focus is always on. And I think when you come back to story and character, it's those end up being the most important things. And we're lucky that we had more resources than others, but it kind of doesn't make a difference in how you make it and how dedicated you are. I think that this for us was like a labor of love. We would have just done it anyway.
Yeah.
9 Inch Nails, I have to say, an absolutely inspired choice to take the Tron sound forwards. Obviously, we've had Wendy Carlos and Daft Punk, and this is a new sound for the franchise. In fact, the film feels like an industrial electro rave at times. I wanted to get up and dance, but as a 50-year-old man, I don't think that's a good idea.
That's a good thing.
So how did the band come to be involved, and what do you feel they brought to it?
We thought long and hard about what Tron, it's such a spectacle of sight and sound, is something we feel you owe the audience. And so for this story, you know, as you say, Wendy Carlos and Daft Punk, there's such a, I think, wonderful history of what the Tron sound. And so when we arrived at the idea of Trent and Atticus, but also to ask them to do it as Nine Inch Nails, which is the first time they've done that, and they were our leading choice by a mile. And when we started to hear it, and they also came to us with the concept of, we'd like to do the soundtrack, but some of them will also be songs. Some will be songs in the film. Some will be cues from the film, but songs on the record. We just got so excited about the creativity. And there's such, to your point, the sort of more industrial angle of sort of coming out of the Dillinger grid, we thought they were a perfect fit for that. But they're such extraordinary talents and extraordinary storytellers. I was just constantly amazed at their understanding of a scene, what it was trying to do, and then how they would approach that musically. Sometimes, by the way, with some very surprising choices that inevitably, you know, elevated the film. So they've been incredible partners and talents.
Almost like an extra character in the film. I mean, it's really strong stuff there. Now, the film deals with AI, and the first AI actress is currently making the news. Have you seen that? Do you think AI actors are going to become standard in the industry? Is that a threat to the industry or to actors as we know it?
I think human creativity is always going to be essential, and I think the more one comes to learn about AI, the more one think and realizes how critical human creativity is and how scarce it is, how difficult it is to do. So I think AI will definitely have an impact on Hollywood as it will on most industries, but I think humanity is going to remain central and core to storytelling.
I think it's I've been thinking about it a lot this week, and it's interesting. Like film is such a collaborative, artistic medium, and it's really about a writer interacting with a director, interacting with cast, and it's what all those different people bring personally to what ultimately becomes the film. And we don't just hire actors for their likeness or for their voice, but we hire them for their ideas, and they contribute those ideas to the movie. So I think that's always going to be a part of it and really important. And that's really, I think this movie is really an ultimately optimistic look at the way in which the collaboration between humankind and the digital world can create a brighter future than if we had neither of those things. And I hope, I think that, but there's always going to be that human element, and that's really what our film is about.
It's hard to imagine AI coming up with a performance as powerful as Jared Leto. I mean, he's just so good in the movie.
Yeah, Glenn, thank you.
Phenomenal. The film features some pleasing nods to the past that, as a Tron fan, I was like looking out for and picking up on. Not least, of course, Jeff Bridges coming back. I've got my Jeff Bridges beat.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to get you a robe.
Yeah, I need a robe. Yeah, absolutely. How easy was it to convince him to return to the franchise, and what kind of energy did he bring to the set?
Yeah, I mean, we knew from the beginning, as soon as we started talking about another Tron movie, that we wanted Jeff to be a part of the film. He's the spirit and sort of the soul of Tron, and has been since the beginning. And he was, we got to work with him in 2010 on Tron Legacy, and we couldn't imagine making another movie without him. So we approached him really early on about being a part of it. And the great thing about Jeff is he's kind of always up for the experience of it. And then it becomes about what's the character and the story and how do we fit him into this world. And we wanted to find a way that wasn't just, a cameo, but really felt essential to the story, where he had a really important role to play within the story we were telling. And so I think we found that pretty early on with him. And then, yeah, he's great. He's so generous and funny and great on set. And, I think the audience or the crew burst into applause when he came onto set for the first time. Yeah. And so he just brings such a great energy, and he's so important to the Tron franchise. We feel lucky to have had him in the movie for sure.
I mean, he is such an amazing human being. I really, every time he comes on screen and we watch it, I'm always like, we can't change anything about this part because I love him so much. And you just fall in love with him, and you can feel that when you're watching the movie. It's like he just lights up the screen. He's so good.
He definitely falls in the "you should meet your heroes" category.
Yes, yes.
He's exactly what you want him to be.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.